Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and this amazing video. I'm Aditya. First of all, Happy New Year to all of you. And in this video, we'll be creating a weather app using Next.js 13. So without any further ado, let's begin. Okay, so we'll be building something like this. City name London, and I'll get the list of cities. Let's say I select this and I'll get the weather of London. So we will see all these. Let's get started. So to begin with, we have Next 13 project with Tailwind CSS setup, and as it's Next 13, so I'll be using the app directory, and to enable that, all we need to do in next config.js, we need to put experimental app directory or app.dir to be true. This is just for temporary because currently it's in beta version, it's not a stable version, and also as you could see, it's experimental. So definitely not suggested for production, but it's good to give a try in projects like this. Now, next thing is we have the app directory over here, and I have made certain basic configurations, or you could say the basic setup, where I have created a header, which is the header component, this blue bar over here. Then we have this JSX, I'm using JavaScript. So in Next 13, whenever you create anything inside app, they all are server-side rendered. So it's a bit different than traditional Next project where you have a head component. In this case, you won't have a head component. Rather, for each page, there will be head.jsx and layout.jsx. These are reserved keywords or reserved names, you could say, and it's best not to repeat them. And here, what we have is we have our head components, like typical head components. What's going to be, for instance, if I type here weather app, and if you notice, if I refresh the page here, you will see here the change is reflected. Now, next thing we have is layout.jsx. So layout, let me just put it like this. So this is creating, you could consider creating a layout component and wrapping our page component, or in other words, it is somewhat similar to our underscore app.jsx, what we had in the previous version, which is this one. So this layout is the layout of our page where we have the header component and we have a main, and inside main we will be having all our pages. So instead of using some page or something or component like a dynamic component, we'll be using children, because all the page components will be passed as a children to the root layout. Now once this is set up, don't forget to get in also the styles globals.css file, because this is where our Tailwind configurations are, or Tailwind directives are. The configurations are config.js, and this is our page component, the home page. Now inside this page component, I have brought in the search box. I'll quickly explain what our search box is doing, but this page component will go inside the layout as a children over here. Now inside the page component, if you notice over here, we have the search box, which is coming from here. And this search box is actually pretty basic. You could say currently right now is just a pretty basic component where we have an HTML input and some searches to show. Once the searches appear, now our data will be in this format. And where I'm getting this data from? Well, there is a beautiful API known as openmeteo.com. Now, how it works is you can either pass the configurations from here, or you can get the URL and pass the configuration. Now, if you notice, I have ticked these boxes over here. Based on that, if I click on preview chart, it will give me a URL. And what we will be doing is we'll be using this URL. And in this URL, we just need to pass the latitude and longitude. Okay, so let's copy this from here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this URL somewhere. So let's put it inside our page.jsx for now. Let's comment it and put it over there because we will need this URL. So let's comment it and put it over there. Now in this URL, if you notice, we just need to pass the latitude, longitude, which we will do it in a moment. Now, next thing we need to do is just a quick example of how this looks like. If you notice, it looks something like this, where, so this is for geocoding, but if I want the weather forecast, so the weather forecast will be shown for each latitude and longitude like this. And then you will see that it has all the details for almost, so it starts now from 3rd January to like 12 a.m. of 3rd January, and it goes all the way till 9th January. So we have a good amount of data. And how it works is that for this hourly time, because I'm asking for hourly weather reports, each key in the time, or each value in the time, each indexed value in the time will correspond to each temperature over here. So you could say 3rd January's 12 a.m. temperature will be this one, then 1 a.m. this one, 2 a.m. this one, so on. So we have this data set for temperature, we have it for wind speed, we have it for rain, we have it for whatnot. Like we have it, it's really a good amount of data. And on top of that, if you notice here, it shows the unit of each metrics we have. So for showers it will be mm, for rain it would be mm, like millimeters, snowfall centimeters, weather code. Now weather code is a different concept that I will explain in a moment, and wind speed. What I want here is also want the daily summary. So what I will do is here, if I go back and go for a daily weather variables, let's say I want weather code, of course, then maximum minimum temperature, and also, okay, let's keep it this much, and let's get a sunrise and sunset time. So now if we preview chart, I need to select a time zone. So for time zone, I'm in London, so I'll just select this one, and then this URL, if we open now, we will see the summary. So this is for geolocation, we'll get back to that. Now if we open it over here like this, it will give us some JSON response, and there we should have the summary at the end, the daily summary. There we go. So it will show us for each day what is the sunrise time, each day what is the sunset time, and the daily summary, daily time, daily units. So we just need to focus for today's date, and that's it. We can get the weather code, we can get the temperature, minimum, maximum. Perfect. So pretty cool API actually, and the good thing is it's free to use. Like there is no API key needed as well. Like it's totally open data. Now once we have that in our search box, we need to get the locations, and we need to pass the locations. For instance, how this search API works is, this is our API, and to this search we pass the name, and to that name, in this case I'm passing LON, so I'll get all the cities matching to this regular expression, and we just need to select one city and pass the latitude, longitude to this API, to this URL. So let's copy this URL and replace with what we have copied before for the let's keep let's remove head.jsx. Its work is done. Page.jsx here, let's copy that URL, and to this URL we just need to pass our latitude, longitude, and we will get this response. So let's get into coding now. So these are our cities. It's just the dummy data, which we'll remove it later. And also I'm using use debounce, because as we type here inside this input, we will be making an API request, and to avoid API request like constantly, to have that delay so that we don't do any like rate limiting or throttling is not happen behind the scenes. For that we will be using this use debounce, and also we'll go for the weather icons, React weather icons. So it's going to be pretty cool. And here we have that use effect for debounce. Now I have created a video on React query where I've shown the example of use debounce. So it's pretty similar to that, where we create a debounce and we pass the debounce value. Now inside this search box, okay, we have this debounce value. Now let's write here use effect, and inside this use effect, let's import this. I hope this is imported. Yeah, there we go. And here we will be having our query, and this query will run as soon as there is a change in our debounce value. Okay, as soon as there is a change in our debounced value, this query will run. Now initially we need to say if debounced value, if debounced value, so let's remove this copilot suggestion. We don't want this. We actually want to say if it's not equal to, if it's equal to, let's put the terminating condition first, then we just simply return. Okay, if the debounce value is blank, we don't want to do anything. We just want to like wait till it comes, or till it becomes normal. And also we just don't want to make it return. We also want to make set show to be false. So set show to be false, because that if it is true, then we will show the result, like these results over here. If it's false, we don't show it, and we return from here. Perfect. Now next thing we need to do is, if there is a debounce value, we make the API request. So here I'm going to say fetch, and here we need this thing over here, this search one. So let's copy this URL, from till here, and this is going to be a get request, so we can paste it like this. And here instead of name, I'm going to say name equal to debounce value. So I'm going to use the template syntax, debounced value. Now what I have done is purposely I have made this app, as you could see, like a mobile friendly app. Like beginning only is mobile friendly, so it's this, you could say, the gray screen, dark gray screen. So let's make it till here and let's work it like this, so we have more screen to see on code. And here what we are going to do is, okay, we got the debounced value, and then we will get a response. So then we will get a response which we need to convert it to JSON. So response.json, and once we convert the response to JSON, we will get the data, and that data we need to put it in our result set. So we need this cities to be now use state. So here I'm going to say const cities, set cities, it's going to be a use state of array like this. And let's remove this from here because this is just for testing purpose. It's done. And if you notice, if I go over here, we need to target the results because results will have that array. Okay, so here what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say set cities, and I want to set data result because this is what we want, result. Or I could do data.result, actually that would be, it's one and the same thing, not different, result. And also this set show should be true. Okay, now here I need to also make sure that if there is no cities or if there is no data, if this is empty, then in that case I just need to return. So here I'm going to say if data dot result, let's make it as length dot length equal to length equal to 0. We just need to make sure that this is present on this data. Length will be always on the result because it's an array. Then here we just return. Okay, we don't do anything, we just return. And also we need to be careful because in this case actually we should also set cities to set show to true, sorry, false, set cities to blank actually, because the reason is, let's say if I type a city and then I type something random, then in that case if there is no data set, then I just need to make sure I'm like making it blank again. Okay, now let's give this a try. So if we go to our app, here we type lon, okay, we got the error. Let's see what's the error. It says result.length cannot read properties of undefined length, length. Okay, let's see what do we get if we just console this. So console.log data. Now as I said, by default all these components are server side components inside app directory. So make sure you add this use client to make this as a client component, otherwise you won't be able to use this use state, use effect. So you need to add this namespace use client so that this search box will behave as a client component rather than a server component. Now if we see it in the console, so if I just undock it like this. Okay, so here if you know, see, okay, let's remove this so we can start from again. So let's remove this, and here let's make it as 100%. There we go. So if we start again, okay, we are getting the results. So it is results, sorry for that, it's results. There we go. Now if we type again, see, there we go. So we have London over here, London. And okay, why is it showing me so many results? Because I just need, okay, if I see in the API, if I type lon, I get 1, 2, oh, okay, there are other cities also. Okay, so it's getting lon for this in Asia, Karachi, Pakistan, and there is one in Jakarta. Okay, that's interesting. Right, so in this case we need to be careful that we say London, and we also should show the country, which country we found from. So here I'm gonna say inside this search result, so if we break it down like this, so comma and city dot country. Okay, so if we go now again, and you'll see, we'll see London United States, London United Kingdom, and here when we hit on this, any one of these, we just want that to be selected, and we pass the details of latitude and longitude from that city, and it just goes up. So what we could do here is, here we will need to have handle click. Okay, so here I'm going to say on click. So handle click like this, and inside this handle click we need to pass the city. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this function as a prop from here over here. So I'm going to say to this search box there will be handle click function, handle click, and that function will go over here and get the city, whichever city is being selected. So this will be the city, and from that city we can get all the details. Oh, this should be handle click like this. And next thing we need to do is go in our page.jsx, and here we'll create that use callback. So here I'm going to say const handle click, and I want to make this as a use callback because I'll be passing this as a function over here, and it's best to wrap it in a use callback so that whenever there's a change in something, like this component doesn't render unless until the change is related to this component itself. So here I'm going to get use callback. So use callback, and here let's wrap this function use callback. The function will be this function, and this function will only change, or we need this only on the first instance. So we don't need to pass any dependency here unless and until there is something related to this function which changes. For instance, if I'm passing a state value, then in that case, if I want that state value to be used in this function to make this function call, then in that case I need to make this function dependent on that state value. In this case we don't have such scenario, so we can keep this empty for now. Now next thing here is we make our fetch API call, but before that we need to pass that function to this component. So here I'm going to say handle click and then the function handle click. Okay, now if I save this, you'll see I get use callback is not defined, so that's fine. This should be B small. Okay, now if I save this, you'll see if I reload this page, okay, we are not getting anything here. Okay, why we are not getting that here? Well, the reason being that now if I open the console over here, you will see that it will say functions cannot be passed directly to client components. Now this is a client component, while our page is a server-side rendered component. So what we need to do is we need to add a namespace here, use client. And if we save this, reload this, you'll see everything works fine. Now does this mean like if we add use client, this will be like client side rendered, so it will be low in SEO and all those things? Okay, let's see. So if I for a moment, let's get it back to average laptop screen and let's see the view page source. So if I see the page source over here, you will see we have our title, meta, everything is there perfectly fine. And also in terms of the data, so we have search for city, our input is there, then over here the input is there. So overall it doesn't like bother our SEO, you could say. The only thing is this component now becomes in a like a client side component. So in other words, the bundle or the whatever JavaScript you will have here, now that will be exposed to the client. So that's the difference between a server side component and a client side component. The server side component comes or renders at a server side, and the bundle is not considered, or the code bundle of that server side component won't be considered in the client bundle. So in this case, the only thing I need to be careful about is I cannot use secret credentials in this page .jsx or nor in searchbox.jsx because they are client side components. So in that case, I cannot use database secrets. I cannot use, let's say, some secret API keys. If I want to use them, then I have two options. Either I make this page inside this pages folder and make it as a static page, and there I pass, let's say, some get server side props or get static props, or make some API call to get the secret or something like that. Somewhere I can use this, wrap the secret in a server side code. Or the other option is inside this app.directory only. Let's say if I want to make this completely a server component, I don't want this use client or anything, then in that case, I need to have a mechanism where I don't need to pass this function to this component, nor I have to worry about like, I have to worry about in this case, making sure that the latitude, longitude that we get from here, or the city data we get from here, we can pass it on to the result, wherever we are making the call for the result API, the final weather result API. So I could use a state management system, or I could do something like these. So it depends. In this case, we are using use callback, and also this is like, if you see, it's mostly suitable for a, like, we are not passing any secret here like API keys or something like that. So in that case, Suffice to say that it's good to use it as a use client, but definitely if you're passing any API secrets or something, definitely don't use client on that. Okay, now we have this callback, so let's console this, what city we get, console.log city. Now if we go back over here, okay, let's make this back again like this. Let's keep it all the way till here and make it this. Perfect. Now what we need to do is here, if we remove this, type some city. So let's type here London. There we go. And there we go. We get this city, and inside this city we have the data. Now we just need to pass this latitude and longitude to the API. So let's do that quickly. So here I'm going to say fetch, and this will be our API URL, the one we just commented before. Let's take that over here with template syntax so that we can pass latitude and longitude. Those latitude and longitude will be in the city. So here what I could do is I could say const latitude longitude, that we will get it from the city, and here we can pass those. So here I'm going to say latitude, and here I'm going to say longitude, which will be here, longitude, and rest other things I'm going to keep it as it is, but definitely you can change them, like you can try to mimic this from over here, but we'll just keep it very basic for now. Then once we have this, okay, now if you notice we will get a different set of results, so we will need another use state to keep it, like we need to hold it somewhere. So here I'm going to say rest.json. That's great. And then here we will have data. Let's console this data so that we could see what we are getting. So console.log data, and let's remove this. Let's click on United Kingdoms, this one, and here you will see we have that data. So here we have hourly, inside hourly we have time, everything. Now what we need to do is we need to create a map so that we can use these ones. Okay, so that we can use these ones and create our own, you could say, data set. Because if you notice, there are 168 intervals for each of these metrics. So rain, shower, snowfall, whatnot. We just need to make sure that each index correspond to that particular date's result or that particular date's data. So what I'm going to do here is, so once we get the data, okay, let's get our two states. So we will need const data set data. So that will be our actual data. So this is going to be use state object. And then we will have the hourly data. So const hourly data set hourly data, and that will be our use state of array. Now we will need use effect and use state from here. Oh, no use effect for now, actually use state is fine. So here I'm going to remove this, or let's keep this for now, or let's remove it actually. Here I'm going to say set data and hourly. So this, instead of forecast.hourly, what we need to do is we need to use number, or need to create array, you could say, and then put back in that hourly data. So here I'm going to say const hourly, that we will get from the data. Okay, and if we just to console.log hourly so that we could see what we are getting. So let's click this again, and okay, we have the error. We will fix that, not a problem. The error says that we invalid hook calls. Hooks can only be called inside a body of a function component. So sorry, this needs to be outside of this callback over here. There we go. Let's split it like this. Type here London, and if we go back over here, there we go. So this is hourly data. So we need to loop on each of these. So we need to run a for loop for 168 times, and then rain, hourly rain, 0th hourly rain, that something like this. So here I'm going to create a new object, or sorry, new array actually, and here I'm going to say okay, let's make it as a let actually, not const hourly data set. It's going to be an array, and here I'm going to say for let I equal to 0, I less than 168, I plus plus. The other way to do it is just pick one of these metrics and put here their length. So I could say hourly dot time dot length. That would be actually more good. Hourly dot time, or is it? Yeah, time. So that we have it corresponding to dates. So hourly dot time dot length. Just need to make sure it exists on hourly. So we put the question mark like this. And then what we need to do is, okay, here we need to push it inside our hourly data set. Well, Copilot is doing that for me. So I'll just keep it like this. So here I'm going to say hourly dot time, that 0th index, temperature would be that 0th index, rain 0th index, 0th index, 0th index. So this will all go inside that. And at the end, all we need to do is, once we have our hourly data set, we set our hourly data set, and we can also console it over here. So I would say console.log data set hourly data set. So it becomes easy for us also to use it inside a component. So if we go back over here and, oh, not this one, this one over here, let's remove all of these. Let's select one of these, and there we go. We have our 168 data sets. So here we have time for that date. We have the rain, we have the showers, we have the snowfall, we have the temperature, we have the weather code, and we have the wind speed. So this is what we want. And now all we need to do is, we need to pass this hourly data set somewhere, maybe to another component, of course, and then just render those details over here. And also we have the other summary. So inside this data, we will be having our data summary. So if I go back to the API result, so the city thing is done, I can close this. I can go over here, and if I let's see if it's up there. So hourly limits, no, not that one. So if I go down, you will see here we have the sunrise time, sunset time for each one of those. Here we have the weather code, and this is the one actually. So all we need to do for today's date, so from the daily units, we need to get the first one. So this will be our today's date, then the weather code, then so what's going to be the average temperature for, or the average climate for today, then the temperature max, temperature minimum, sunrise time, and sunset time. Now I already installed moment.js, so it makes super simple to format this data according to whatever format we want with moment. So I'll be using that. Now I'm going to create a component here. So I'm going to say hourly result, and that would be JSX component. Now one thing we also need to be considered about is, now when we use client over here, we cannot have server components imported in this one. Now every component for this page needs to follow the use client syntax. So here I need to put use client, and then all we need to do is just get this component inside our page.jsx. So here I'm going to use RFC snippet. We have the hourly results. So let's get this hourly results over here after search box. So we will have hourly results, and to this hourly results we need to pass the data. So that data will be this weather data, so which will be our hourly data set, this one over here, hourly data. So let's pass that. So I'm going to say data will be hourly data, and that we can catch it over here as a prop. Okay, use reference hourly results is not defined. That's fine. We have it over here. We just need to import that. That will import it in a moment. So that goes over here. Let's import this one. There we go. This should go off now. There we go. Now next thing is, okay, we got the results here. First let's make the skeleton of how the results will look like here, and then we can simply pass that details, like whatever the data is, because we already have the data. We just need to make a skeleton first. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get in the library first, this one, weather icon. So let's get this, go inside my console, close this for a moment, completely close this. There we go. And then just simply paste that. Now this should install the library, and let's see the usage till it's getting reinstalled. So here we have the weather. So what exactly going to be, like whether it's going to be sunny, whether it's going to be something else, and we can use it by giving the size to the icon and the color. And what I'm going to do is, they have the documentation of the icons over here, and you'll see all the icons are here. So we would just use like the name of the icon correspond to the name of the component. So it's pretty straightforward and easy to use library. So what I'm going to do is, okay, let's run this again, npm run dev, and let's go back over here. And now if I go to this one here, the open Meteo, there we will have the weather code somewhere at the bottom. These are the query parameters. Weather code should be somewhere in the bottom. There we go. So these weather codes will tell us, okay, whether this temperature is clear, whether it's raining, whether it's something else, whatnot and whatnot. Now what we need to be careful is, if you notice, so 61 is rain, slight, then moderate, and heavy intensity rain. So each one of these refers to something. So we need to create a map of these, and then that map will have the icon associated with it. Okay, so let's create that map. So here I'm gonna say const weather code map. Now here I need to be careful about, okay, what weather code it is, and what I could say, I would say rather, okay, so one weather code refers to this detail, so mainly clear. So I need to say, okay, one will refer to the name of the icon component. Okay, so this is how we need to create an icon, need to create the map. So this, we have the component maps. So what I'm going to call this weather code component map. And here, if you notice, some of the components, they are like repeating their name. So it's very difficult to distinguish whether the rain is lighter or whether the rain is like heavy. So for that, here I'm going to say const weather. Okay, and here I'll be doing the same thing. The only difference is, for each of these codes, I will be creating the appropriate label. Perfect. So now that we have our label map as well as component map, now it's time to display them over here. Now if you notice, our hourly data is going to be an array, which is going to be an array of these things. So we will be having time, temperature for that particular date instance, showers, and etc, etc. Now we can show all the hourly data over here. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to give class name of flex. So I'll be using flexbox, and items, not center, actually let's do space x of 4. And next thing I want is, like, it should be scrollable, so it just keep on scrolling like this as long as we get the end. So here I'm going to say overflow scroll or auto, and next thing we need is, we want flex no wrap. Okay, so we don't want to wrap it, we just want to take it in a flex direction of row. Perfect. So here we will have all of that, each interval, you could say. So we'll get the data, then for each of the data we will pass that component. Now, sorry, the result set. Now what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to create a separate component. I'm going to call it function, let's say day weather, something like this. Here we will have the day details, like the weather details for each day, or I could call it weather details. And here it will return a component that we will render it over here. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to say return. Now this is going to be again a component. So here we can have something like this. So div, and if you notice, we have these components. Now to have them in action, we need to import them from our package, or the package that we have just downloaded. So here we can import it like this. So the name of the component, it's going to be named import, and that will come from weather icons React. So here I'm going to say import, that would be the name of the components, from weather icons React, and then all of these components that we have, like all of these. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 components. So here we will have night, that is, so okay, let's copy them and paste them here straight away. So this will be this one, then we will have the sunny overcast, then we will have the fog one, then we will have the raindrop. Okay, yeah, there is raindrop and there is raindrops, so I'm using them like that. So raindrops, then we will have rain one over here, the rain one, then we will have the rain wind one, this one. Perfect. Now you can add more weather codes and make like use more of these components. So that's not a problem. So this will get all the components. Next, we will have the labels. That's fine. Now, what we need to do here is, so here we have the weather details, but along with that, actually we need to pass things differently. So here we will need the icon and we will need the label. That's going to be this label. Then we will need the temperature, and we will need the date. Okay, so date string. Here I'm going to use moment.js. So here I'm going to say import moment from moment, and then we can use it over here. Now what I'm going to do is, let's quickly do something like this. So here I'm going to say, so icon will be the component that we will pass. So I'll make it a capital I. Here I'm going to say, okay, that's going to be the component. And if you notice here, the usage, we have size and the color. So I'm going to keep it white color for now. Let's keep it size of 24, and we can reduce the size if required. And next thing we will need is, there we will need the label. So that will be, okay, so what's going to be the date, and the label, it's going to be partly cloudy, etc, kind of thing. So that will be this label, this one over here. Then we will have one for temperature, and we will keep here degree Celsius. So we can get this WI Celsius component as well to show the degree Celsius. This one from here, and let's get it over here. So temperature, and then the component, which will be, again, we will have the white color for this. So size will be bits, let's do it around, okay, let's see what we could give it. So let's do, let's say 16 maybe. And here we will give white color, and also for each of these we will say the text is gray of 50. Okay, so let's do this, perfect. So we have the temperature, and the last thing we will need is the date. So here I'm going to say, okay, format the date in accordingly this format. So we will change the format. I think this is not the right format, but we'll see. Most probably we need to change this, but let's put faith in Copilot. Okay, so once we have that, okay, so this will come over here, the component. But before that, we need to give it some styling. So here I'm going to say class name. I'm going to say flex of column. So column direction, and I'm going to keep everything in center. Okay, perfect. And space Y off, let's say 3. And then we will have those components here. So here I'm going to say, let's put this in a round bracket like this, so that we can import the component. And here I'm going to say data.map. So we will get all the hourly details. Then I'm going to say for each day, okay, for each day we will be returning this component, which is day weather component. And to this day weather we need to pass the key. So the key will be the date itself. Oh, let's go view syntax, sorry for that. And here will be the day dot time, because if you notice in our this one, so we can use time, temperature, then if it's showers, if it's, we will just pass the weather code and it will take care for us. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna copy this thing from here so that we can just refer it over here for a moment. So let's paste it over here. So that would be day.time. Then we will have date. So date will be this date over here. That would be day.time. Then we will have weather code. So that would be, okay, so now to pass the weather code, we need to pass the icon. So icon will refer to the weather code, and label will refer to the weather code of this again from here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say icon is weather code component map. From there I want data dot weather code, this one over here. So that will be our weather code. Okay, let's bring it on new line in a moment. And next thing is, okay, let's comment this so that we can bring this on new line like this. There we go. And next thing we will need is, okay, so icon is there, then we'll need the label. So label will be weather label map. From there we will need day dot weather code. I also need to make the changes here. Weather code, this over here. So this should be day, not data. And after that we will have, okay, label, that's there. Next thing we will need is temperature over here. So we will pass the temperature also. So here I'm going to say temperature, that will be day dot temperature. Okay, so that's what we have for now. So let's go over here and give this a try. Okay, so this shouldn't be here. Let's wrap it like this and this over here. Okay, so let's give this a try. So here, let's type this. Okay, we need to hide that so that we can show what's behind, but let's see if we have any errors in the meantime. So here I'm gonna say if there are any errors. So seems like there are. So it says, okay, let's remove this. Let's click this. Okay, so we are not getting the data correctly, or something is not happening right. Okay, so let's go to search box. Now let's take this handle click in a separate function. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, okay, handle click event. So this will call it like this, and here I will have the function. So function handle click event, we will get the city, and here I'm gonna say set show to be false. So this one, set value to be whatever the value is, and set show to be false. Perfect. So if we now give it a try, okay, let's refresh this. Right. Okay, looks work. Now here, let's say London, like this. Okay, we are not getting the details. Okay, here this round bracket should be after return like this. This should be like this. Okay, this should be fine now. Now if we try here, okay, London. Okay, we got a new error. Element type is invalid, expected a string. So it has to do something with this icon over here. So we get icon, and then we pass the icon here. So weather code component map. From there we are saying, okay, this is the icon. That icon comes over here and it is rendered over here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what do we need to do here is, I'm just consoling the icon. So it's gonna be blank till the actual icon is rendered. So this one over here, because it needs to get in, and then once it has a defined value, then this will be like a proper component. So to make sure that it is defined, I'm gonna say here icon, it's defined, and then only you render this icon component. Perfect. Now if I go over here, type London, and if I select this one, you'll see the icon is not visible, but it's here, like it's there. And also our this thing has become like, so our input is also getting scrolled. So what do we want is, we don't want to scroll the input, we want to scroll the bottom, like the container itself, just the container. So what I'm gonna do here is, I'm gonna give it width of full, and in this way, if we, okay, it's still asking us to scroll that, and to our page one over here, I'm gonna say overflow x hidden. Okay, okay, perfect, and there we go. Perfect, this is what we want. Now next thing we want is, if you notice the icons are not visible, so for that thing what we need to do is change the color. Actually, that's the only thing we need to do. So here I'm going to say 1 2 3 4 5 6. So because 0 0 is for black, FF is white. So let's print this here, and there we go, we have these things now. Okay, we have this label over here, overcast, then the temperature is not visible for some reason, so we are passing the temperature from here. Right, we need to pass, okay, we have day dot temperature. Okay, we'll fix this as well, that's not a problem. So next thing is, we just need some margin from the top. So for the margin here, we could say, okay, so here we have space x, and we could say empty of 12 maybe, so that we have a margin from the top. That's great. And here what I need to say is I want to say this flex none, and next thing I want, so it takes proper space, and next thing I want to do is okay, I need this also in the center and slightly bigger. So let's say if we make it 48, what will be the size? Okay, that's great. And label like the shower. This looks good, this looks good. Okay, let's make this text center. Text center. So that comes in the center. And also for this one, okay, so color that remains as it is. What else do we need? Okay, so temperature is the next thing, and here it shows the date time. You would see like it goes all the way over there, but it's not showing the date. So let's also show the date. So here I'm gonna say, okay, so this is in the format of time, and we will need one more span here. So I'll just copy this from here, paste it over here, and here I'm gonna say this should be in a format of something like DDD MMM y. Let's see if this works. Okay, there we go. We have something there. So it's 3rd January 2023, 3rd January 2023. Perfect. Now let's fix the temperature part. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of this first. Let's make it 24. Okay, and then the temperature. So the temperature should be, okay, let's see if we have a temperature there. Okay, so for that, okay, let's see what wrong we are doing here. So okay, so it's temperature underscore 2m. So here we need to put temperature underscore 2m, and that should give us the temperature. Now they are kind of like not placed right, so let's place them right. So here what I'm going to do is, okay, let's put this in a span as well, something like this span, and let's break it like this, and we can take this from here, put it over here, this goes over here, and here I'm gonna say flex space x of, let's say 1, and items center. Perfect, there we go. They are all correctly placed now. And okay, now in this case we can remove this text center because it's not working right over there. So let's remove that. Okay, perfect, now it works great. So everything is now placed correctly, so we have everything we need. Okay, perfect. So this becomes our hourly summary of weather. So that's great. It says partly cloudy, overcast, slightly rain, slight rain, slight rain. Perfect. Awesome. So this is great. Now if you notice, I have type AF, I want to type London. So let's say I type LOND, and if I click one, so it's not auto completing my city name. So let's try to complete that as well. So if we go to search box, if you notice, we have taking the city from here. So what we need to do is, here we need to say set value, and that will be our city dot name. Okay, now if we try this again, so London, come on, there we go, and this one, there we go. Now if I show you here, if I type, let's say LOND and select London, it will make one more API call. So what we need to do is, here we need to have something which is actually a label. So we will need to make this as a label, and when we click on that, then this becomes input, or we show the input. When we click back again, like we just toggle the input and label. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to take const toggle set toggle, and by default it's going to be false. So by default we'll be showing the input. So here I'm going to say if toggle, if not toggle, then in that case we show the input, otherwise we show the label. Here. So span, and it will have exactly same classes like these, so nothing different, so that it looks exactly the same. So class name, whatever that class names are. Okay, let's remove the quotes like this, and here what we will do is we will take a label. Okay, we will take a label which is going to be the value that they will select. So here I'm going to say const city set city, that will be use state, it's going to be empty by default or blank string, and then we will have the city inside this span tag. So let's go over here, let's bring it down, and here we will have, oops, the city. So city, and let's format this. Perfect. And another thing we want here is, okay, so we click on this input, then okay, we type on this when we select handle. So that time we toggle the label. So here I'm going to say set toggle will be true, and when we click on span at that time, oh, sorry, on click, here I'm going to say set toggle will be false. Okay, let's give this a try. So here I'm saying London, so select that. Okay, now here the city is not getting anywhere because we are not setting the city. So here we need to say set city will be city.name. We don't need this set value now. We can remove it from here. And let's refresh this to give it a try again. So London. Oh, let's go like this. There we go. Okay, now this is not taking the entire space. So we have width of full, and okay, what if we make it as a div? Okay, that works great. So let's make it as a div and keep it like this. So that's great. And when we click on this, this becomes editable. There we go. So we have London. Perfect. Let's try some different city. So let's see if we have Mumbai. Okay, perfect. So let's get that. Now I don't have weather code for that. That's why we are not seeing the icons, but I'm pretty much sure it's going to be mostly clear sky. So if I check for the data over here in the console, so if we go in the console, there we go here. So if we expand one of these, okay, so weather code here is 0 for clear sky. So we just need to handle that case. So here I'm gonna go back again here and gonna keep it for clear sky. So I guess 0 is for clear sky. So what we are gonna do over here? So here I'm gonna say 0 clear, and we just need an icon for clear sky. So let's see what icon we could use for clear sky. This is for cloud. Okay, what we will do is, if I think for clear sky they don't have an icon, if I'm correct, yeah, they have night clear, that's it. So we just need to use this. Okay, let's use this. So night clear, and let's get that icon from the library we installed, night clear. And if we go back, there we go, we have for Mumbai, so we have the clear sky. Okay, which icon is this one? We just need to fit this one over here. So okay, let's see what do we get for a weather code of that. So again, the weather codes that are missing, we just need to add the weather code and the icons, and that should be fine. So here we have for Mumbai. Okay, let's make it bigger. So this one, Mumbai, this one. So we have, what's the interval? So 0, 1, 2, second one. So second one, the weather code is of 1. Okay, so 1 is also clear sky, I guess, partly is clear or something. So keep 1 with night clear. What's the weather code for that? So 1 is partly cloudy actually. So here I'm going to say, oh sorry, mainly clear, sorry, not partly cloudy, mainly clear. So here I'm going to say mainly clear. Now if we go back again, there we go, we have our data. Perfect. So here we have partly cloudy, mainly clear, 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 all great, all perfect. Okay, now this becomes our hourly summary. Now we also have daily summary, so we can show it below over here. So let's show that quickly as well. Okay, so let's console our data over here so that we can quickly see again what exactly we have. So console.log data, and if we go over here, so okay, so this data will be, okay, so let's, okay, we'll see that, not a problem. So here I'm gonna just open the console, and here we have the data for us. So here we have, okay, this is for the hourly data, I believe. So we need just the data itself. So what we will do is here, let's remove all of these. Let's type it again. So let's type Mumbai, and there we go. So we have the daily details here. So we have sunrise time for each day. So here each day again, sunrise, sunset for each day. So that's the time. If you see, it's like okay, so 141, 141, 141. Okay, I guess this time is in London time, because if you notice, this is Europe London time. So we also need to change the time zone when we change the city. Okay, so most probably this okay, let's see, our API returns the time zone so that we can also pass the time zone. So that should be more, because now I see like this is showing time zone of so this is, it's though it's a Mumbai weather, but it's showing according to London time. So let's quickly check that or quickly fix that. There we go, we have the time zone, so we can also pass the time zone here, Asia, Kolkata. So what we am going to do is here I'm going to take time zone. Let me see if it's correct. Yeah, time zone, and that time zone will go over here, temperature, sunset time zone. There we go. So here we can pass the time zone. So here I'm gonna say $time zone. There we go, and let's hit enter, and then we might see results differently now. So if we go back over here, so you will see okay, so we have starting from 00 from 3rd of January. That's fine. Here we just need to now see for the data that we get, which should be over here, this one. So let's uncomment this back again. Let's type something. So Mumbai, this one. Let's see the data here. So latitude, longitude, this is daily. There we go. And this is our actual time now. So we will use this to show the sunrise, sunset for each of the day. So we will have day, sunrise time, sunset time, and what do we have? Minimum and max temperature and the weather code. So what's going to be the average weather for that? So what I'm going to do is, if you notice, like this weather map and weather label is very useful for us. So I'm going to create it in a different file and then export them and then import it over here. Assets JS, maps.js. There we go. This is the perfect one. So we put them over here, and both of these we export them. Export, perfect. And then over here we can import them. So here I'm going to say import weather map and that from the assets. So we go 2 directories up, go in the assets, go into JS, and go into the maps. Perfect. Now that gives us okay, let's see what's happening. Wind, night. Oh, of course, these things needs to be taken over there now. They are no more needed here. Just the Celsius will be needed because we are using that over here. So inside maps, we need to put them over here. Remove the Celsius from here, go back to this and remove all of these from here and only keep that. Perfect. Let's give it a try if we didn't break anything. So London again. Perfect, everything works. Now we also need to create a map from these. So you see like there are 7, so we can run, like we can try to reuse actually inside our page.jsx where we have this for 168. We can have it for 7, just making sure if the I is less than 7 or less than equal to 7, we just keep moving forward. Actually, it should be less than 7 actually. So here I'm going to say if I is less than 7, then we can just need to create another array and put it inside this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one, const daily data or daily summary data, you would say. Let's take this like this, set daily data. Again, it's going to be a use state of empty array. And then here we could say, okay, now we will need to create a state. So here I'm going to now use a different format. So once we are creating an already data set and then pushing it, and finally we're adding it here. I could do something like this. I could say set daily data, and I'm going to say, okay, the actual daily data, whatever the actual daily data is, to that I want to add. So I'm going to return an array which will be the actual daily data plus the one I want. So here there will be time. So instead of hourly time, it's gonna be where is that? So we need the daily as well from here, daily, and that will be time will be daily's time. Let's see if we are right. So yeah, so we have time, temperature to a min, max, sunset, sunrise, weather code. Okay, so that would be here. We will have min max. Okay, thank you Copilot. Weather code, sunrise and sunset. Perfect. So this will create our final daily data, and that daily data we will pass it again to a component. So let's create a component here that would be daily results .jsx, and here again I'm gonna use client and RFC. Perfect. Daily results, that will take in the data, and here let's save this. Let's bring that over here. Daily results, let's pass in the data. That would be our daily data. Perfect. And then inside the daily results we can use that data. So here we just need to follow the same syntax. Actually we can make things differently, because here we have things differently as well. So moment is also needed. Import moment from moment and our maps, the weather maps that we have created. So import from, oh, we also need that W Celsius. That's right. W Celsius from weather react icon, and import weather maps from assets and JS maps. Perfect. Now what do we need? Okay, so this will take data. Now this will be like class name will be flex. We want it in a column direction now. Column space y of 3. Okay, and here we will have our for loop. Now again we will need, for each data we will pass a component that we will be creating in a moment. So let's create that component here. So I'm going to say function day result, or day weather, actually day weather. Now this day weather will take in the icon, so that will be our icon. Then it will take in the sunrise time, sunset time. So sunrise, sunset. Then it's going to take in the, what's going to take in temperature. So min temperature, max temperature, and the date. Perfect. Now if you notice, these things are already there in our result set, so we don't have to pass them like this. But however, we need to be careful on the weather code, because weather code has the icon, or from the weather code we're actually getting the icon, and this also the map. So what I'm going to do is, here I'm going to say label, and then the rest will be the payload as it is. So that will be more, actually less props to handle payload. Perfect. Now here there's going to be a function, then return, and this time, okay, so we want it as a row layout flex. So let's get the component first. So the key will be here, day dot time, then label will be our weather label map from this one, day dot weather, oops, weather code. Then icon will be weather code component map, and that will be day dot weather code, and the payload will be other, like the entire day details. That's great. Perfect. Okay, this will throw an error. We'll see that. What's the error? So we have, okay, so we have one over here. Okay, let's try this one. Yes. So here what do we need to do is, we have div. So let's do it like this. Div dot flex row. Perfect. And let's see, what do we get now? Okay, now here first will be the date, so whatever the day is, and here I'm going to use moment again. So one div, or let's use span for that. I'm going to class name Now this will be text lg, and here payload.time will be formatted in this date, and here this will be text gray of 50. Okay, so that becomes our one row, and within this actually we can, okay, let's keep it like this, not problem. Then we will have sunset time and sunrise time. So here span dot flex column, because we will use it as a 2-column layout. Now let me see if we have an icon for that here. We should have it. Let's see, sunrise. Okay, we have sunrise and there is sunset. Perfect. So let's take these two icons. So this will be from here, and we will need one for sunset. Sunset, perfect. Now, okay, so for the icons, okay, that will be the weather code icon. We will deal with that later. So let's put the sunrise icon, size of this, and here we want to show the time, like what time is the sunrise. So okay, if I go to the data again, so we have inside the sunrise there is a sunrise time, so that should be in payload.sunrise. so let's put that over here, span payload dot payload dot sunrise, and also this needs to be converted with moment. So moment payload dot sunrise dot format. Now here we will just use the RR minute format. So RR minute format, and also we will need the same thing for sunset, sunrise, then we have sunset. Now what we need to do is these will be flex while the overall thing will be column. So here I'm going to say span dot flex dot item center dot space x of 1. Perfect. So we will need one more actually. So one will go in this over here, and the other one will go here. Perfect. Just we need to put the classes on this. So for this and this, it would be text gray of 50, so that the text here becomes correct. So let's give this a try. London. Okay, so we have them over here. So these are our timings. Now this needs to be items center. Perfect. And there needs to be a lot of margin from the top. So here I'm going to say empty 16 maybe, or let's do 12. That should be fine. Perfect. And also here we will need some spacing. So space x of, let's say 1. Okay. And then we have, okay, so this is for this. Then we have the minimum temperature, maximum temperature in the same way. So if you notice, this is becoming more like a layout. So we can create a layout component here quickly. So here I'm going to say function layout. Just that's the name I can think of for now. So I'll just take it as it is. Then here I'm gonna return that layout with span. So that, oops, not span, it's span. And here we have the children of that component. And then simply all of these will be like this will become a layout. So let's remove this. Let's remove this, and here, or let's call it as a column actually, or let's keep it layout. It's fine. I don't know. Okay, layout. Perfect. Perfect. So everything remains as it is. Now we will need another layout for this. So one more of these for minimum and maximum temperature. So this becomes here, and then we will have layout, then the temperature. So we can take this from here, put the temperature first. So instead of this, we will have where is that, payload dot temperature 2m minimum. and that will be our minimum temperature. So we will put the icon here, and that will be our one layout. So if we save this, there we go, that's our minimum temperature, and we'll need the maximum temperature. So let's put the maximum temperature as well. So this will be max. Perfect. And let's do it like this. Perfect. They're very tightly spaced, so let's give them more space. Let's make space x of 4. Okay, that's great. And then we will have the weather codes. So here we have the weather codes, so we can again use this flex column layout. So this one over here, and then the span, and then we will have our layout again. Layout. So here we just need the icon now. So icon will be whatever the icon, so size of 24 and color of hashtag FFFFFF. And also need to make sure that the icon is rendering so that we don't get any error here. So that goes for the icon. Then we will complete the layout first, and then we will put the span label. That's the label. There we go. Perfect weather app. Now that looks somewhat very texty, so we can use or give some styling now. So here I could say divide y, divide gray of, let's say, 300, and each of these will get p of or py of maybe 4, px of 1. See, perfect. So that looks great. Okay, that looks great here, that looks great here. And next thing we need is, okay, so that's min max temperature. Okay, this, why it had gone all over the up, like shouldn't be like this. Okay, let's fix that also. Let's quickly reload this to see if it's not something weird because of reload. So let's try Mumbai. Okay, so what we need to do here is, inside our page we have overflow x hidden and overflow y auto. Okay, so that goes for this. And okay, what I'm gonna do now is, for layout, I'm gonna remove this grid layout from here. 12. There we go. Perfect. This is perfect. Awesome. So okay, that looks great. That completes our weather app. So that's all in this video. Hope you enjoy this video. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you feel this video is worth sharing with your network, please do share with your network. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. So see you in the next video, and Happy New Year. Till the next time, goodbye.